Hello, and thank you so much for joining me again for Reading 100 Classics. The classic I'm introducing today is a really special one for me. It's a book that was, without a doubt, an absolute pinnacle of my teenage reading experience, Hermann Hesse's Beneath the Wheel. It's a story that left a permanent mark, and I am so excited to explore it with you.
Let's just jump right in with a question that gets to the absolute core of this novel. Have you ever had that feeling that the relentless chase for a goal, the very path that's supposed to be leading you to success, was actually just draining the life right out of you? I think it's a feeling that most of us, at some point, can unfortunately relate to.
And that feeling, that's the central tragedy of the book we're exploring today. Published way back in 1906, Hermann Hesse's Beneath the Wheel tells the devastating story of a gifted young boy who is singled out for greatness, only to be completely and utterly crushed by the weight of everyone's expectations.
So here's how we're going to break it down today. We'll start with our protagonist, Hans, and his early promise. Then we'll feel the crushing weight of the wheel. We'll witness a rebellious friendship that changes absolutely everything. And then we're going to zoom out a bit to see the author's own life in the story. We'll explore why this tale still hits so hard today. And finally, we'll talk about the wisdom we can all take away from it.
All right, let's set the scene. Our story begins in a small, quiet German town where we meet a young boy who seems to have the entire world at his feet. His name is Hans Giebenroth. Now, Hans isn't just any kid. He is exceptionally bright, he's sensitive, he's talented, he's the total package, and he's the pride and joy of his father. His dad is this middle-class agent who, has his own insecurities and sees his son's success as his own ticket to a higher social status. So everyone, his dad, the headmaster, the pastor, they all see this potential in Hans and push him toward the one path they see for him: pass the state exams and get into the prestigious theological seminary. And, for a while, Hans is completely on board. He totally buys into this dream. This quote right here really shows his ambition at the start. He pictures this future where he rises above his small-town roots, becomes this great man, and gets to, look down on the kids he used to play with. He makes their dreams his own, and he's willing to sacrifice his present for that future glory. But this intense, singular focus, it comes at a terrible, terrible price. All the pressure to succeed, to study constantly, it begins to act like this giant grinding wheel, just slowly wearing away at his spirit. Let's look at what that really cost him.
So what does he actually lose? Well, pretty much everything that makes being a kid worthwhile. The simple joy of fishing down by the river, the love he had for taking care of his rabbits, just playing games with his friends. His deep, personal connection to the natural world around him gets completely severed. In chasing the future, he's forced to give up his entire present. He sacrifices his own childhood.
And you can literally see the toll it takes on him. This quote just paints such a heartbreaking picture. The novel describes him becoming this ghost of his former self. Pale, exhausted, always hunched over his books. The lively, sensitive boy is just fading away, replaced by a study machine who's always got a headache.
And here's the real tragic irony of it all. He does it. He succeeds. After everything he gave up, Hans passes the ridiculously difficult state exam and gets into the seminary. Not only that, he gets the second highest score in the entire state. The whole town celebrates, his dad is over the moon. But for Hans, this isn't freedom. It's just the next turn of the screw. The expectations just got even higher.
And right when he arrives at the seminary, the headmaster gives him this bone-chilling warning, which gives us the novel's central metaphor. The wheel is the system. It's the rigid rules, the endless studying, the demand for conformity. Don't fall behind. Don't show weakness. Don't you dare get tired, or you will get crushed.
But it's inside this pressure cooker of an environment that a little spark of rebellion is lit. And it doesn't come from Hans himself. It comes from meeting another student who shows him a completely different way to live.
The seminary, it turns out, is even worse than he imagined. It's a place with no joy, where every single hour is scheduled, every move is watched, and the pressure just never lets up. The wheel here turns faster and heavier, just grinding away what little bit of individuality and happiness Hans has left.
And then he meets Hermann Heilner, and as you can see, they are total opposites. Hans is the model student, the one who follows the rules, the one who desperately wants the teachers to like him. Heilner is a poetic, rebellious soul who can't stand the rules and values his freedom more than anything. He's a genius in his own right, but he's the kind that teachers can't stand because they can't control him. Hellner sees something in Hans, that authentic, sensitive soul buried way down deep, and he draws it out. Their friendship is a total revelation for Hans. It reawakens his love for poetry, for nature, for his own inner world. But as his true self starts to wake up, his interest in Greek verbs and theology just disappears. And to the absolute horror of his teachers, the model student starts to fail.
This friendship, combined with all the pressure, it all leads to a breaking point. On a visit home, Hans is just overwhelmed with grief for the childhood he knows he can never get back. And he does something shocking, this symbolic act of violence. He grabs an axe and he destroys the rabbit hutch he once loved so much, just smashing the symbol of his lost innocence into splinters. It is a visceral, desperate cry from a soul in pure agony.
And I have to pause here for a second and just say this. We can talk about the plot points, but there are passages in this book, these moments of quiet, profound despair that you just can't get from a summary. It's in Hesse's beautiful, poetic writing that you truly feel the weight of Hans's sorrow. I genuinely, truly encourage you to read the book to experience its full power for yourself.
Now, to really understand why this novel hits so hard, we have to look past the fiction for a moment and see the author himself, standing right there in the shadows. Because this story was deeply, painfully personal for Hermann Hesse.
Just look at this comparison for a second. It's uncanny. At 15, Hesse himself ran away from the very same seminary that's in the novel. After that, he was put in an institution for what they called melancholia, and even talked about suicide. He grew up with incredibly strict religious parents who had really high expectations. Hesse felt like this entire system was trying to stamp out his artistic spirit, just like Hans's creative soul is sacrificed for his studies. The parallels are just undeniable. So what this means is that Beneath the Wheel was Hesse's way of dealing with his own trauma. It was an exorcism. He was writing about Hans, sure, but he was also writing about himself. He was bearing witness against a system that he believed was designed to destroy sensitive individuals. And that's what gives this book its raw, authentic power.
Which brings us to a really important question. Why does this story, written over 100 years ago about a boy in Imperial Germany, why does it still feel so incredibly relevant? Why do we still remember Hans?
Well, I think the answer is right here in this question. The specific details might have changed, the clothes, the technology, but has the fundamental nature of the wheel really gone away? Let's really think about it. The modern wheel takes so many forms, right? Hyper-competitive schools that care more about test scores than anything else, the insane pressure on young people to build the perfect resume, to pick the right career path before they even know who they are, the terrifying trend of sacrificing your mental health for the sake of achievement, and that timeless, universal struggle between who society wants you to be and who you really are. Hans's story, it's our story.
Hans's story, I have to tell you, it ends in tragedy. After a complete nervous breakdown, he's sent home from the seminary, seen as a failure by his father and the whole town. He eventually drowns in a river, and the book leaves it ambiguous whether it was an accident or on purpose. But his tragic end serves as a powerful, powerful warning. So what wisdom can we take from it? Okay, first, we have to protect our inner world. The things that bring you joy, your hobbies, your passions, your connection to nature, they are not distractions. They are essential for your soul's survival. Second, you have to define success for yourself. Letting someone else's ambitions, whether it's your parents or society's, become your prison is a recipe for misery. Third, understand that your authentic self isn't something you can trade for approval. It is a terrible bargain. And finally, you have to learn to listen to your soul. That constant exhaustion, the despair, those aren't signs of weakness. They are vital signals telling you you're on the wrong path and need to change course.
In the end, the story of Hans Giebenrath is so much more than a critique of an old education system. It is a timeless, tragic warning for all of us. It holds a mirror up to our own lives and forces us to look at the wheels that are turning, the pressures, the expectations, and to ask ourselves, are they really serving us?
So I will leave you with this final thought to ponder. What wheels are turning in your life right now? Are they wheels of your own making, taking you somewhere you've actually chosen to go? Or are you maybe, like Hans, just being carried along, or maybe even crushed, by a wheel you never asked for? I'll be back with another insightful classic for you to explore. Until next time, take care. Bye now.